SNX Radio invites you to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos with us as we dive into UFOs, cryptids, and everything otherworldly. As we navigate the night, we investigate the unknowns that spark our curiosity and challenge our understanding of reality.
Dials spinning past midnight, static sparks on the chrome, name lights up on the backlit glass, Coley calling you home, signal in the sky, little blip on the black, every meter in my mind, redlining on the track, I can feel that home, in the bones, in the glow, every beat says run, but the rhythm says go. Are you ready for the lift off? Are you ready for the spin? When the unknown pulls you closer, do you find a dive right in? Coley UFO, SNX Radio. Take the tune in. Numbers race the clock, neon blur in my eyes. Every corner that we cut draws a map in the night. I don't need a map, I just follow the tone. Every switch, every flick is a door to the zone. Are you ready for the drop now? Are you ready for the spin? When the night cracks wide open, let the strange light pour in. Coley UFOs, SNX Radio. Take the journey into the unknown. Turn it up till the speakers blow. We're chasing shadows, never alone. Coley UFOs, SNX Radio. Feel the future under your skin. Every heartbeat out on the floor is a countdown. Hey baby, tune in. Close your eyes, let it scan you. Every thought, every code, every scar. We're tuned to the same strange channel. Every heart like a distant star. Hey, so run with me through the glitch and the glow, where the dial never finds the end. If we're lost on this wild transmission, then get lost with me again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, and I'm going to navigate you through the night. And I want to just welcome everyone here tonight. I can see in chat, I saw. Oh, Pancho, hey, nice to see you. Kurt W75's in the house. And we have Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you guys have not, go over to Bigfoot Michigan Rob's channel and definitely subscribe. Show him some love over there. Cosmic Voice is in the house. Nice to see you. Woo D, Woo Rider. Derek, nice to see you. And everybody else. So I want to welcome. We are streaming live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter X, depending on what generation you're from, and Rumble. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And we also have a pretty exciting guest tonight. And I know most of you are no stranger to the work of Small Town Monsters. So without further ado, let's bring Seth Breedlove on. He's the producer of Small Town Monsters, and let him tell you a little bit more about himself. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I know you kind of have some limited time tonight, so I wanted to get right in there. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and I guess why you do it?
Oh, yeah. Great question.
A loaded question.
Yeah. My name is Seth Breedlove. I run a company called Small Town Monsters, and we make documentaries about cryptids and the paranormal and UFOs and stuff like that around the country. We've been doing it since 2014, so we're celebrating. Well, we just finished up celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which was 2025.
Oh, congratulations! That's awesome.
Yeah, and we, why I do it, I just, it's fun. It's a good time. But yeah, that's the short of it. It's an independent film production company based out of Ohio, and we make stuff about cryptids and the paranormal, and we've been doing it for a little while.
Yes, you have, and you do it well. You do it very well. So how are you connected to it? Are you like an experiencer of the phenomenon, or is it something you've just been really interested in?
I started out as just an enthusiast of the subject matter. So I'm not I didn't grow up like super aware of it. I was not into this stuff as a kid. It kind of came later in life. It was in my mid-20s when I really got into it, and I started doing a podcast called Sass What that was about Bigfoot. It's kind of like an NPR NPR podcast about Bigfoot. So it's probably no surprise we're no longer doing it. But I did that, and then in 2014 I had pitched a bunch of like book publishers a book proposal that I had put together for a book called Small Town Monsters, and everyone rejected it. So I just took some of the cases that we had focused on in the book proposal and turned them into movies, starting in 2015 with Minerva Monster. So, I mean, the short of it is I was just driven by boredom, because I was working a medical billing job, and I was sitting in a medical billing job in a cubicle all day, dreaming about what I'd like to be doing, and what's better than running around in the woods searching for Bigfoot. So
Right.
that was what
No,
inspired.
it's exciting. It's exciting. I've been out there. It's like, it takes it to a whole new level, especially when you're out there in the woods and you know something out there can see way better than what you can see, and has a way better vantage point than what you have. There's no doubt about that.
So it was just, I mean, it was an interest in the strange and unusual, and the people that I was interviewing and talking to who were claiming experiences were very believable and seemingly rational people, which kind of flew in the face of what I knew about witnesses from most of what was on network television in those days, because most of the people, network television does a really great job of editing witnesses and stuff that look like complete lunatics. And
Yeah, they do too. Yeah. I know.
So when I was talking to witnesses, it was like these were normal, rational people, not the seeming lunatics that you would see on TV. I don't actually think the people that you see on TV are lunatics. I think they're edited a lot of the time in such a way that that's how they come across. So I wanted to take, at that time too, I was writing for newspapers and stuff like that. So I was dabbling in newspaper journalism, and I wanted to take the objective approach that I was bringing to, or not bringing to, I was learning. I mean, I'd be an idiot to try to claim that I was some sort of like journalist. I went to school. I went to college for one day and moved over to writing for newspapers. So I was kind of learning as I went how to be objective and how to approach this stuff, thanks to the work I was doing with the newspaper. So I just thought it'd be interesting to bring that to these topics, because at that time, especially 2014, 2015, this stuff just wasn't.
It's not out there. No,
it wasn't being, and it wasn't being covered outside of television, and television's just a dumpster fire. I'm going to crap on television a lot tonight.
I agree with you, though. I agree with you. There's I said, I can't even believe some of the stuff that I used to believe, like coming off of there. But it's so infiltrated. And then you look at Operation Mockingbird, it's all right back there. So you took it and you're like, I'm going out there, kind of did the journalism thing, college thing for a day. You know what? I see nothing wrong with that. I have my master's degree, and I think that's the dumbest thing I could have done. It really is. Like, to go and, it's just more indoctrination. And that's like the part of it that, the denial part.
Yeah. No, it is. I had no interest. Once I got in there, I was there for a day, and I was going for writing. I can't remember. I think it was a creative writing class that I quit during the middle of. And the teacher had asked us to write an essay on what we learned in her class that day. And my essay, I mean, I was a little prick for doing this, but my essay was like 200 words on why I could teach your class better than you. And then
you were one of those. Yeah. That's awesome.
I walked out, and then I just went and kind of did stuff on my own. But I mean, it would be, I fell into this. I'm not like some genius that set this up. This was totally by accident that I'm doing it today, and totally by God's grace that I'm here.
Do you think it's by accident? I don't know. I think people find themselves in these places, or they're always made to do something like this. It sounds
Well,
like
yeah.
through the years, you have that spunk in you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a reaction too, because, like we keep saying, at that point in time, there just wasn't anything on television that anyone that's actually realistically into this stuff, really into it, has a genuine passion for it, is believes a lot of the stories, is searching for the truth behind it. There wasn't a television show or anything, even outside of a couple odd independent docs that were popping up here and there. There just wasn't anything built for rational people who are into this stuff. So that was the goal, was to make content for people like us that are actually into the stuff, because it just wasn't being done at that time.
That's so true too. And that's kind of cutting edge stuff. I mean, you didn't just do the paranormal like other people do. The cryptids is like a whole new world of its own. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Well, and at that time too, Bigfoot was it was in the limelight, the spotlight, and everything else was kind of like back burner. You had there was a show that Lyle did a lot, Lyle Blackburn, who works with us a lot, that focused on cryptids. I can't remember. What was it? Mysteries and Monsters in America, something like that. It was on the Travel Channel, or Destination America. And they would cover some of this stuff, but no one had, like, when we dove into our Mothman movie, there hadn't been a realistic, interesting, objective documentary made about a non-Bigfoot cryptid in quite a while. There was a documentary about, there were a couple documentaries about the Mothman independent docs that were pretty good, and then there was one that Aaron Cadju had done about the Bridgewater Triangle. I think it's just called the Bridgewater Triangle. And then there was Sean Whitley did a doc that I always talk about called Southern Fried Bigfoot. So like there were a couple like independent docs out there, but there just wasn't enough focusing on the whole broad range of cryptids. And so we dove into it, head first, trying to cover all that stuff and do it in a way that would invite people who might not have come to these topics at all otherwise. Some of this stuff seems really silly to a lot of people, so we were trying to cover the stuff that most people might think was kind of ludicrous, but do it in a way that would invite a general audience in, and then hopefully we indoctrinate them and they get excited into
the good way
they're coming in. Yeah, too. So that was always the goal, to evangelize the cryptids.
set the topic free, because going back, I just even remember the paranormal growing up. I grew up seeing spirits, so it was like it was always evil or demonic, and who's to say here nor there, but there's always like two sides to it, it seems like. But in the cryptid world, what do you think? Are you think like interdimensional? Do you think from here, just hidden, or like a lab?
There's no actually I'm really annoyed by the entire idea of like one sort of pat answer to all of this. I'm not a fan of the sort of like John Keelian overarching, there's the interdimensional thing. I think you have to take it case by case, because a lot of this stuff is really nuanced. Like the perfect example I always go back to is the Flatwoods Monster, because for one thing, my son is obsessed with the Flatwoods Monster. He's 8 and he watches the movie we made on the Flatwoods Monster on a weekly basis, so I watch it a lot with him. And so I'm well schooled on that one. And in that story, there was this UFO that supposedly crashed outside of this tiny town in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia, this tiny village called Flatwoods. And these kids go up this hill and they encounter something. And over the years, the story has become that they encountered this giant green monster with giant clawed arms and hands, and it's coming after them and breathing fire and all this other stuff. And but when we spoke to the actual witnesses, what they said they encountered was what looked like an experimental rocket. And that's very different from what we kind of hear about the Flatwoods Monster case. But on the other hand, there was a guy who encountered something that did sound like some sort of lizard-like creature, like the very next night. So it's a nuanced thing. I don't think that there's any one answer for any of this stuff. I think that some cryptids are merely folklore stories that get told and retold, and they become part of the culture, or part of the the very real. I don't know. It's interesting too, because we've been going down to North Carolina a lot and covering the area around Bryson City where my family is from, and that's the Smokies, and in the Smoky Mountains, there's all these legends of little people and the moon-eyed people.
I was going to say, yeah,
the Boojum and all that stuff. But when you really start digging into some of these legends, you find that there's different things going on there than what you would initially think. Like with the Boojum, it has kind of been adopted as, well, that's Bigfoot. But in actuality, it seems like that more than likely is a legend that sprung up recently, and then was ascribed to the Cherokee without really any involvement. They never claimed the Boojum. That was not a thing that the Cherokee really claim as their own. There are other figures, potentially, like Bigfoot type figures that the Cherokee claim, but not the Boojum. But that's something we see a lot. So there's a lot of like different ways in which these stories spring up, and in some cases, I think there is an objective reality to the cryptid, and in other cases, it's sort of a folkloric tale that's been told and retold until it kind of becomes its own living story. Yeah.
The game of telephone too. The game.
Sure. Yeah. That's the big one. That is the biggest thing. We run into that with everyone, like every story we cover. But especially like that Flatwood story is one where you really watch the initial investigations by Gray Barker and strangely enough, Ivan Sanderson, when they come in and get involved in that Flatwood story, they kind of like, I don't want to like make it seem like I'm calling them liars or anything, because I'm not, but they definitely added to the story in a way that changed what people were saying they encountered. And then the versions of the story that they were putting out there, that's what everyone knows now, because it
drives me crazy. It pollutes stuff. It really does.
Yeah. And it's getting harder and harder in the age of the internet, because people, the telephone game just ups itself to an absurd level now, because now you're people, recite these stories that have been debunked for 100 times. They just recite them over and over until people think it's reality. So I don't know, it drives me crazy.
It starts blending in. I hear you.
Yeah, it's fun in a way too, though, to watch those stories kind of become. We did a movie last year called Lost Contact that was a look into the Thomas Mantell event. Mantell was an Air Force pilot. He wasn't Air Force. He was an Army National Guard, or not Army National Guard, National Guard. It's National Guard something, aviation wing of the National Guard in Kentucky. His plane crashed while he was chasing a possible UFO, and basically he flew too high trying to gain altitude to get a look at a UFO, and then his plane stalled out and crashed Earth, and he died. And the fact is that we don't really know what he was chasing. There's a very real possibility it actually was a skyhook weather balloon. In this case, it's like one of those ones where more than likely it was a skyhook weather balloon, because there's people in Nashville that had called in sightings of a weather balloon. So more than likely it was a skyhook weather balloon. But when that story hit, it it became an international news sensation. You know, it got picked up by news channels all over the country, TV, radio, newspapers, all that stuff. And eventually there was a comic book that that retold the story. And it's interesting if you talk to people that grew up, especially younger people that grew up in Kentucky. Like in the movie, we have, you know, people that are 10, 15 years younger than me who talk about their understanding of that story. And their understanding of that story is so far removed from reality. It's insane. It's like most kids have the idea that Thomas Mantell was actually in a dogfight with a UFO, and like the UFO shot him down. But in no way is that reality. But that's like, you know, the comic book was out there. There were movies made that kind of retold the story. And you know, their dad, maybe their dad watched it and he's trying to remember how that story went. So he tells his kid 30 years after it happened, hey, there was once a dogfight between a UFO and this guy over Kentucky, and that's the story they know. And then they recite that to their kids, and it just gets passed on and on. So we see that a lot.
Sorry, I hit the mute button. I said that's so true, though. Even in like the UFO field or any of them that I've been in, and I see too guests do it all the time. I'm like, man, I've been doing this for a while. Like I talk to you, you know, over and over. You can't just all of a sudden embellish a new chapter. There's a difference between, hey, I've gained this new understanding and awareness, and this could be it, or it's like, and the fisherman's tale. I mean, it's crazy, but it makes it so hard to get those facts. When it's
Yeah, and I mean,
like
that's the good thing about what people like you do. You're, whether you realize this part of it or not, because I'm sure a lot of the time you're just trying to put on like a really good show. But the fact is, you're also documenting what people say, and so when you record what people say, it's a record for
testimony.
For people it's a record for people in the future too, who can look back on it, you know, and try to glean some element of truth with this stuff, because it is tough. It's very difficult to ascertain what is reality and what is just a story.
There's a fine line, isn't there? Totally.
Yeah.
There's definitely a fine line. And that is so true. And I said, I really like when I tell people, I'm like, I would love to have you on. I want to get your testimony on how it's not just like you're telling a story, you're telling your life story. Yes. But it's, you know, it's so much testimony. I'm like, hey, and then you can kind of sort through it, you know, and see, and, you know, I compare it. And before the times like of transcripts and stuff, AI, it wasn't as easy to do. Now it's easier to point those like spots of deception, but it drives me crazy too. It really does. Like, your story is good enough, okay? Like, the situation was good enough. We don't have to take this to Hollywood, because I'm pretty convinced the majority of the population, even if they did come across it, it's not enough like the movie for them to even understand what happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when Hollywood gets involved. It's a disaster. You know, and I've worked with people that work in Hollywood. I've talked to people in Hollywood. I've been to Hollywood. I've witnessed how the scene goes. There's no interest. There's no interest in actually telling the truth.
It's right out there in the heart of it, and it is the most. And I'm sorry for people but I live there. I feel like I can say this. It was some of the most disconnected people on this planet. I mean, their reality, and then there was like California, you know, and I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I'm from the Midwest and I have that bit of grounding to me, because you guys will run off and it's not safe. It really is not. Some of the stuff that goes on out there is just insane. And I'm like, why would we trust this, or why are we trusting this? That's why I appreciate content creators such as yourself that are out there doing this and putting people's stories. I mean, that's a huge responsibility, and you're taking, and you know, otherwise those people would not have an avenue or an outlet for their story.
Well, I mean, they do. It gets tough because there actually is, like, especially now, there's so many people that you know do quality work who people can go talk to. So anytime anyone's willing to tell us their story, I'm grateful for that, because there's nothing owed to small town monsters to come tell your story to us specifically. The only thing I can tell people when we do it is if if you tell us your story, we're going to put it on camera as it happened. Like that's the thing that I try to stick to, is just, whatever we put in a film or a YouTube video or whatever, it's going to be what you said. We're not going to edit you to make you say something you didn't say. And that's important. I think there's an obligation from all of us, especially if you're independent at this point, if you want to stand out from the crowd, because there's a very large, group of people doing this type of work. If you want to stand out from the crowd, be honest, because that's not, it just isn't happening.
I caught last night a show. It's a pretty well-known show, and the guy on there, he's like, "We're all full of shit," and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Everybody," and I was like, "No, not everybody in this is," but now that's very telling right there. He's hot mic'd, and I was like, "Man, what is going on here?" Like, this is not supposed to be that way. Like, if you're taking, and I said, it's a very big responsibility, but you need to be checking into things and doing your due diligence and putting it out there, because there's enough of the Hollywood BS all around. Like, I want to know, and I want to understand and know somebody's, like, what happened to them, like what really happened. And sometimes, it's hard to distinguish what's paranormal, what's ET, what is cryptids. There's like a point they all merge together. And I heard you talking about UFOs before. Do you kind of find that too in your work, that they all kind of fall into, I mean, it's not the same way, obviously, but into a same zone?
You mean like, what do you mean?
Like, I said, like, there's a place that I'd love to go to, and always UFOs, but there's also a ton, I think, like probably close to 10 Bigfoot sightings that are right in close proximity to one another.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking. That's where we get into like an area that I'm fascinated by it. We've made movies about like window areas and stuff like that. We've made a movie about the Chestnut Ridge. We just finished a movie that's coming out this year sometime called From the Beyond: High Strangeness in the Bennington Triangle. It's kind of a spiritual successor to Invasion on Chestnut Ridge. And those both tell stories about, like, your kind of classic window area. And it's a place where a lot of weird stuff happens. However, like, what I have come to believe is that I don't think I really don't think a lot of this stuff is connected at all. The more I'm into it, the less I believe that UFOs and Bigfoot are connected in any way.
I kind of think so too, but people are like so into like all these ley lines. I have to ask, but to me, I've never seen like two of them together. I don't know. A lot of it does seem to center around Native American, but I'm like, maybe that's something they pulled in too.
Yeah. And again, like, I'm not, at the end of the day, I would rather hear other people's opinions on this stuff, because I'm a filmmaker first, and like a paranormal enthusiast second. It's a weird line I walk, but I'm more fascinated by what other people think about the stuff than I am trying to conjure up my own opinions on it, because I'm also kind of an idiot. I mean, like I said, I went to college for one day. I barely graduated high school. Like, I'm not a very smart person. So most of the time my brain is just struggling to understand the information it's taking in. So I'm interested in people's opinions on this stuff. And I love listening to like Stan Gordon talk about the connections between this stuff. My personal opinion is Bigfoot and UFOs are unconnected. And that's based on the fact that I've interviewed 200 some witnesses, and I've never actually talked to a witness directly who claimed a Bigfoot and UFO experience. I've heard secondhand stories, about there was a story on the Chestnut Ridge at the Bell Farm that involved a witness claiming they saw like a UFO land on at the farm, and a door opened on the UFO and Bigfoots came out of it. So I've heard those stories. I've heard about like a Bigfoot holding an orb. I've heard these things, but I personally haven't spoken to a witness. Maybe if I talk to a really great witness who's like unbelievably believable, then it'll change my opinion on that. I also think, I always go back. Don Keating is a local Ohio Bigfoot researcher, and he's been doing it forever. He was, he's the godfather of Bigfoot research in the state of Ohio. And I asked him once how many sighting reports he had taken that involved like some sort of high strangeness element, like, or any kind of paranormal element. And in his entire time taking these reports, he never had one. Like, there was never a single report that came to him that connected, Bigfoots and UFOs, or witnessing both. So I always go back to that. But that's just where I'm at right now too. You kind of like evolve over time, because I think part of the problem with that idea is some witnesses don't feel comfortable talking to Bigfoot researchers about UFO stuff, because a lot of the Bigfoot researchers laugh it off. So you can't, like, some people are more open to that stuff too. Like the Wild and Weird West Virginia guys, Ron Lanham and Joe Perdue, they get a lot of those reports. So it's not a hard and fast rule. It's just that I have yet to speak to any UFO/Bigfoot witness who's seen both together, and neither has Don. And Don has been doing it for like 55 years.
I have not either. Now, I've heard similar to you, like heard some of those stories too.
Mhm.
The only time it seems like they all mesh, you should talk to James Gillian. He's got the East Ranch, and there they have the phenomenon together. But it's, again, near Native American grounds, and that seems to be where I find it.
Yeah,
So
and
what-
that's but it's all Native American ground, isn't it? Like they were
that's so true. Yeah, I know.
they're everywhere.
When I say it sounds so stupid, but I think that, I don't know if it's more of the ceremonial grounds or how you'd word it, but you're right. This isn't even our land. This was here before, and it is definitely Native American land. But what do you? I mean,
no, but
they
I
seem to be the
understand. I understand what you're saying for sure. Like, yeah, it's not so much that, like, because like it is, the natives were kind of everywhere, and we try to ascribe meaning to places that might not have had meaning to them. But there are definitely places where indigenous people talk about things that happened, and then you sort of see this history unfold even into the present day of weird stuff. Like Point Pleasant, West Virginia has a long history of strangeness, and in the present day, you get Mothman sightings in the 60s that mirror sightings of what they called the Birdman in the 30s. And then you trace that back, into the 1800s, and there's curses placed on land and all sorts of stuff. So it's a fun thread to pull at and to try to figure out.
So what's your take on like the missing 411? Do you think that this phenomenon is like consuming people out there, or do you think that that's more fabricated?
I don't
I guess maybe that or don't. Yeah.
this is one of those ones where you can get me in big trouble on this topic. Specifically. I mean, we've covered the missing people topic a few times. Like we made a movie called Land of the Missing, where we filmed in we were filming a movie called On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Last Frontier in Alaska. And while we were filming it, we just kept finding a side to the Bigfoot phenomenon in Alaska that was really nefarious, like very dark. And a lot of it did come from like the indigenous people we were interviewing. And so while we were filming this other movie, we ended up filming a second movie while we were in Alaska. Of course, we were there for like 17 days. So we had plenty of time to do it. So we filmed a movie called Land of the Missing, and it takes a look at like the missing people in Alaska and whether or not there's some sort of connection to the Bigfoot subject. And at the end of the day, where I'm at on it is 100%. I think there probably have been instances where like Sasquatch takes someone and kills them. But if they're out there, it would make sense that there would be like rogue. I mean, it happens with every kind of primate on the planet. They, especially like chimpanzees and stuff like that, they have very they get real mean real fast. And so there's no reason why this couldn't happen, with Bigfoot. So we had covered that. So where I'm at, I don't know, like when it comes to the missing people stuff, I think people go naturally missing in in the forest quite a bit, and I think there probably have been the odd cases here and there where someone, runs up against a grumpy Sasquatch and doesn't come home. When you get into the like alien abduction phenomenon and stuff, that's a topic that really creeps me out. Like of everything, of every topic that we have looked into, the alien abduction stuff is really unsettling. Because I've interviewed witnesses to that. I've interviewed experiencers, like abduction
I'm one. Yeah.
experiencers.
It
And
is hard to digest.
yeah, it's a very unsettling topic. And I've interviewed people whose children were impacted by it, where they were, like generationally, people were believe they were abducted, and then their grandkids, who were living with them at the time, ended up experiencing similar things. So that's a really unsettling one. It's one that I haven't fully dove into, I guess, mostly because I don't know that I want to. Like, I don't know that I want to be a part of, because it's one of those things where, like, with alien abduction phenomenon specifically, it seems like it's a like it can almost follow you home, if you know what I mean.
It does.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a whole thing. Daryl Sims was just on the Alien Hunter, and he's got a different perspective of it than everybody else, and it really challenges it. But he's got some great points. He's like, well, if they're on the up and up, why do they come and take you in your sleep? He's like, if they're so smart, why did they bring you back in wrong locations with your clothes on backwards? And these are valid points. Like, we can't just get wrapped up in here like, oh, this is great. And, the whole lollipop and rainbow thing. I mean, that's the furthest thing from it. But E.T., you invited in. You definitely invited in. And it definitely follows you home. And there's nothing.
Yeah, that to me doesn't sound like ET. It doesn't sound like extraterrestrial. Then that sounds like something spiritual. Like that's
a great point. That's where I'm going right down there too. I'm like, I want it, my life being affected by this completely. I want to know the truth and find out answers about what happened or why it happened. And it's like, there's some big pieces here, and I'm like, man, they don't call, they don't schedule the time to come get you. In my situation, the benefits outweighed, like, the pros outweighed the con, but it still doesn't. And especially with kids, I'm like, now my child was not involved. If my child were involved, that's gloves off. That's a totally different. You just, don't leave the kids alone. Okay, so one thing to take an adult, but leave the kids alone.
Yeah, that's the thing when you're getting into this, especially if you have little kids. It's like you kind of get picky about what you're going to cover, because you do hear some horror stories about like children getting involved in this stuff and it not going great for them. So that's where I'm at. I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old living here, so I don't want them to get sucked into that stuff.
No, absolutely not. And if you can protect your kids, it's like, some people see it as like, oh, you're doing your job. And I was like, not with my child. Like, again, leave the kids alone. So I guess in all your experience with all this, what is one of the, some of the most extreme cases that you have come across?
It's funny we were talking about, I mean, for extreme stuff, there's 2 projects we worked on that really got into some gnarly, not fun stories. One was, it was actually that Invasion on Chestnut Ridge movie. We interviewed a investigator named Barry Clark, and Barry had been looking into this stuff for decades with Stan Gordon. He worked alongside Stan Gordon on the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania, and Barry had files and files of reports. He had interviewed people, he'd gone to locations, he'd done all this work. Barry had started experiencing like missing time, and he would drive somewhere and like time would pass and he'd wake up in his car and hours would have passed since he had been driving, and he wouldn't know how he got to where he was and all this kind of stuff. And he ended up having similar, he ended up having like physical effects from this, like holes poked in his skin and stuff like that. And it scared him so bad that he ended up burning all of his files and completely getting out of the topic entirely, you know? And that was always one, the reason that one affected, I can't even tell you the whole story, because what happened is he made me turn the cameras off, and then he told us this whole side story to that involved his grandson that was really unnerving. That was kind of what I was alluding to with the other story. I mean, he kind of broke down in tears, and this is a very serious, stone-faced guy. You know, he's not a crybaby.
Right.
And it was really obvious that it's impacted him in a major way, especially these last like 30 years. And then it started impacting his grandson, who I think at the time was only like 4 or 5. So that was one where, you know, like it was just very creepy, everything he told us. The other one is we made a movie called American Werewolves 2 that focused on skinwalkers in the desert.
People were asking about that. Yeah.
In the deserts of New Mexico. And we got to film on the Navajo reservation, which is a big deal. But one of the things that happened during that shoot was we interviewed a person who remained anonymous. They're anonymous in the movie, but they were actually a member of the Navajo. They were Navajo Indian. And he actually told us like everything about how you become a skinwalker, gave us all the ins and outs of the process, and then, you know, told us a lot of the stories connected with that. And it was extremely unnerving, because like one of the ways in which you become a skinwalker is by killing someone you love. There's just really awful.
Oh, is that it? There's a sacrifice involved?
There's a sacrifice involved, at least in from what he was telling us. There was a lot of information that he divulged that he was not supposed to, which is why he has to remain anonymous. So it's not something you can't just walk onto a reservation and ask someone about the skinwalker. They don't even want to hear that word. Like, you're not even supposed to say the word skinwalker.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So you don't really get into it, and it's very difficult to get any information on it. We were in New Mexico. We were filming with these people. A lot of them trusted us, and even then they wouldn't divulge much about it. You know, like they wouldn't even tell you what the, you know, things like what their parents had warned them about as kids when it came to that stuff. So it was a very, that topic was very unsettling, because at the end of the day, I came away from that feeling like that one really is like almost like a spiritual thing. It's almost like a spiritual decay that happens in someone that you know, like, and the other thing about the skinwalker, when we were talking to people, is they were very adamant that like, this is not a creature, it's a person, and they wear, you know, the skin of like they become an animal, but it's not outwardly. It's not like a physical transformation. So they're
like the Buffalo Bill of cryptids. Yeah.
Right. No, that's actually really similar to what I said when we were making the movie, based on what we were hearing. So that stuff is really unsettling, because you're also delving, when you get into that stuff, you're kind of delving into almost like a true crime aspect to these stories that we don't typically delve into. So you know, there was a lot of talk of violence and mutilation and stuff like that on that shoot. So that was those are two of the tougher ones that we've explored. But I mean, we made a movie called On the Trail of UFOs, Night Visitors, that takes a look at the cattle mutilation topic, and we have covered abductions. That's why I've interviewed abductees, but thus far I've managed to steer clear of the super creepy stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, once you get into it, but I always find there's a reason, like, why people have that element of fear. I didn't know and could have cared less either way growing up, but I was always afraid of the skylight, because I thought UFOs were coming, and nobody could ever figure out why. And then later on in life, I mean, it's just kind of crazy how it sits there in your unconscious mind and all this stuff. But a lot of it is too. It's like the true crime story. This is what's going on and not being covered by media and not being reported on, because it's, you know, it's like too weird. And they do edit people out. I've had it happen to me, I don't know how many times, and I'm usually kind of cautious or careful. I know when I've said something, you know, maybe too far, but they can chop this up so many. And now with AI, it's like, man, where's gonna the line? Yes, it's hard to trust anything.
Yeah, I would look out for that with TV people too, because once they have your voice and your image, they can literally toss you into an AI program now and have you say what they need you to say, so they don't have to work you for 4 or 5 hours, which is how they typically, like, we don't do, our interviews are relatively short. We're just talking about this past week. Our interviews with witnesses are short, and one of the reasons I do that is because I want them to feel comfortable when they're telling us their story. When I say short, I mean, we've done witness interviews that went 10 minutes. It's just a matter of getting them to sit down and tell the story, documenting it in the truest way possible, and then letting them go. Because the last thing I want them to do is feel trapped by some filmmaker who's trying to get their story on camera.
Well, it can be evoking a lot of trauma too, or anxiety or fear in people.
Well, that's why I say I don't know why a lot of witnesses do it, because I don't know what they're getting out of talking to me. I appreciate it. I love it. We take it very seriously. We take the responsibility of documenting what they say and then relating it in the truest way possible, very seriously. But I don't know in a lot of cases how people, what they get out of it. But yeah, it's scary now, because you could, man, I'm telling you, like, someone like the History Channel does not have any problem tossing you into an AI filter and running your voice and then running that through a script and having you say exactly what they need. If they need you to say X line, you know, they're going to do it. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. So
yeah, if you're not willing to say it, that's too bad. You're under contract. I mean, usually that's
well, I just heard a story this past week that, like, contextualizing what I was just saying, there's a television show being filmed right now, and I know that when the average witness goes in to talk to them, they're shooting for 4 to 6 hours. That's an exceptionally long time to sit there and just relate your experience. But what they're trying to get you to do is give them all the juicy sound bites. That's what they want. They don't actually want the reality of what happened to you. They want, some sort of very unnerving, creepy story that you're going to relate, even if that isn't your experience. Heather was telling me a story about a friend of hers, and I got to be real vague with this because I don't want to relate this story because it was just told to me. But Heather is our researcher at Small Town Monsters, and she was telling me a story about a friend of hers who works in like a haunted location, had some experiences at the haunted location, was asked to be on a TV show, went on the TV show, and then the TV people were doing everything they could to get her to say that, like, she had this horrific experience and never wanted to do ghost hunting again. But apparently that was not her experience at all, so she refused to say it, and they just kept going back over this over and over again, desperately trying to get her to talk about how scared she was, but that wasn't her actual experience. So, you got to be careful, because there's definitely an element with networks and stuff of putting out just a product. That's really all they see is a product, and you're just the witnesses to those people are just a cog in the machine. That's all That's all you are.
Yeah, it's not about your, they need somebody to tell your story, basically their story that they want to create. Yep. It's not about your story. It's not about, you said before, it's like, you don't understand why people talk to you. There's a part of somebody, I really think, when they've been through that and there's really nobody that understands them, even though it's really hard like that, just having somebody like yourself who understands, and knows that it's just not all like tinfoil hats and like, that people that in mental health problems like galore that consume a little piece of this community. It's more than that.
Yeah.
That's so, yeah. So what do you think has been like? I mean, this is what a wild ride. 10 years you've been doing this. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Some of the stuff and not caving to all the Hollywood nonsense and, just the people who get that ego and, you seem very grounded and very down to earth.
Well, we're not. Yeah, I mean, I am grounded because I'm just like everybody else. I mean, even though we make this stuff, we're still just a mom and pop business. I always tell my wife, like, we're like any other, we're like the bookstore down the road, like that in downtown Massillon. There's a bookstore. I live in Massillon, Ohio. There's a bookstore, and it's run by a family, and they've run it for years. And I'm like, we're exactly like that. Like we're just running a production company that happens to focus on these subjects. So, grounded is just because we're like everybody else. We're just normal people that work at STM. But the reality is the last 10 years have been absolutely insane. Like, the places I've been allowed to go and the people I've gotten to meet, my mom passed away in 2023.
I'm sorry.
And I got to do something that most people don't get to do, which is like, I dealt with that process of like grieving her loss and everything. I did it in a movie. And most people don't get to do that, but because I'm a documentarian and my stuff focuses, not my stuff, but in this case, I was making it on the trail of Bigfoot. What happened is my mom died in 2023. She had cancer for 2.5 years. They had originally told her she was only going to live for like 6 months. And she passed away in, what was it, late April or early May of 2023. She died on a Thursday. On Friday, we were supposed to leave to go to British Columbia. So I didn't know what to do because my dad hadn't scheduled the funeral and I wasn't pushing him to do it. So I let everyone go. So the rest of the crew went ahead and went to BC, and they were going to film this movie without me. But then my dad scheduled the funeral and I found out I could go. So I hopped a plane and I flew to British Columbia, and we made this movie, and I got to deal with that loss of my mom and stuff on camera in a way
that would be vulnerable. Yeah.
And well, it was, but it was also just like, that's a blessing to be able to do that stuff. Like I've learned about.
You have a distraction too, like with it, something very cool, but and that's awesome that she got all that extra time. I mean, that's one way, definitely a great way of looking at it.
So that's what I mean. Like the things we've been blessed to be able to do, I don't take any of that for granted. And to be able to document people's stories, especially vulnerable people who have had things happen to them that are not positive experiences, that's huge. Anyone that is willing to talk to us on camera, I think I don't take that for granted. We shouldn't.
I say that all the time too.
Yeah. It's all just,
you get to talk to some amazing people with some amazing experiences. It really is. I never take it for granted.
Amazing places like Alaska and British Columbia and stuff like that too. So.
And be out there, yeah. I mean, for hey, if you look at it,
yeah. No, it's been
amazing that you're doing that.
Yeah. It's been the thrill of a lifetime, especially for a guy who, spent years sitting in a cubicle and working landscaping jobs and stuff like that. To get to do this is great.
I don't think sitting in a cubicle would be your style. I'm envisioning it now. I think it would.
You do what you got to do, but yeah,
I'm seeing what your desks look like.
Yeah.
That's definitely. And I know that you're short on, you have just a limited amount of time tonight, but there was a question. Everybody's looking at your collectibles. I just made a new word up. A collectible. You know what I'm talking about. In your background, what's your favorite?
Just because she bought it for me, my mom bought me. I don't really like Funko Pops, but my mom bought me an Uncle Scrooge Funko Pop her last Christmas, and so that's become my favorite, sitting on my shelf over there. That's probably I have a huge the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are my favorite and you can't see them, but to my right is just this massive wall of like turtle stuff. So that's probably second anything in the TMNT selection of my collection.
Yeah, no, you got quite a collectical. Here I go again. Now that I told myself not to say it, I'm gonna just go anywhere. But you have a collection behind you. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's a huge, it kind of keeps you. Is there? I'm not a collectible person. I can't even say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, I
But it's
started.
very cool. Very, very
I
cool.
started like maybe five. Well, I mean, I've collected forever, but I really started in earnest when I had my son, and him and I. He's a big like Transformers fan, so we do a lot of that. You know, a lot of like going to toy shows
Oh,
and toy stores and stuff together.
that's awesome. See, now, he gets to. I mean, that would be very cool as a child. I mean, having you as a dad, I'm sure that they're gonna love that growing up. Very cool. But yeah, I guess in closing, I know you. Like I said, I wanted to really thank you for coming on, and I know that you're very busy. But tell people what you got going on now and where they can find you.
Yeah, the big stuff we have coming out. We have a documentary that just dropped called Dawn of the Dog Man. Came out in early December. It's done very well. So that's available right now on Amazon and Apple TV and Google Play. There's a couple other platforms. It's going to be available on Tubi, I think on the 21st, and then on our YouTube channel, it should be sometime in early February as well. So like that's the thing about our stuff is if you want to see it early,
And that's at Small Town Monsters.
yeah. If you want to see our stuff early, you can back the Kickstarter. We launch a Kickstarter every February and it runs for 1 month. There's like early screeners, digital screeners, downloadable stuff, DVDs, Blu-rays, shirts, and all that kind of stuff. If you don't want to spend money on our stuff, that's fine too, because you can see it. Eventually, everything we put out is free somewhere, like whether it's YouTube or Tubi or Amazon Prime. If you have like a subscription, some of our stuff is on there. So we always try to get it out, into as many platforms as possible. But eventually, it's all free somewhere. So if you just look up Small Town Monsters on YouTube, you'll find our channel, or you can go to smalltownmonsters.com.
Yeah, and I do have that up on the screen, so everybody that's looking in. Also, you have a YouTube channel, Small Town Monsters. Excuse me.
Yep.
So that. I mean, you guys are doing wonderful things over there. So again, I really want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate all your time and stuff. What would you like to leave the audience?
Just the big thing that I've been trying to get across this year is just there's where our society is rough right now. Everyone's real mean. Try to be nice to people if possible. And if you're lost and looking for something, God is a pretty safe bet. I found a lot of peace this year, turning to God whenever I can. So that's it. That's my non-Bigfoot, non-paranormal advice.
Though it's people, it's like they act like you cannot bring the spirituality into the phenomenon. And I said that's completely true. So I think that's a hell of a great advice, especially the way that people have. I say that too. We gotta be kinder to one another. Whether we, it all starts with a smile and just forcing yourself through it. But we have to find a point that we're not fighting with one another, and that we get restore that excitement for life back. I mean, it really does need to be back. It's think of how exciting when you get exciting times and how much better life is, and I'm all about that. So again, thank you so much, Seth, for coming on, and I really appreciate it, as the audience does also. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully Ohio is warmer than Iowa.
It's not, so
hopefully you get to stay indoors and oh man. Well again, thank you. So what a great, I mean, man, Small Town Monsters is definitely cool, like all that stuff. And I believe Rob, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, was on one. Rob, if you're in the chat, go ahead and let us know. But yes, so hopefully everybody's weekend is going fantastic so far. We've just kind of entered into it. Mine has been interesting. My child's car, they said was on fire at some certain point, and I have no idea. I can't even wrap my mind around this right now. So anyway, it's been just a really weird couple of days, but I'm really thankful for each and every one of you and for always being here and showing up. And, one way or another, you have no idea how much you change things for everybody. So, just Benno, your humor is stinking funny. I could be having a crappy day and I go in and I see like some of the stuff, Spider Bite, I love, and there's just about each and every one of you. There's so much, you guys are definitely the highlight of my day. And I know that without you, none of this would be possible. And so together we're a family and we get to talk to really cool people and we get to find, ask the questions ourselves. So I'm trying to get better. If anybody, is interested in running the chat or coming on and representing the chat, drop me a DM because I think that would help so much. I'm spending a lot of time like dropping links live and doing everything to get but I think sometimes it does lose people along the way. So it's not that I want to make you listen to the music I wrote or an AI, but no, that's not really what's going on here. I'm just trying to get put these type of people in front of as many people that I possibly can. So it helps everybody, it helps get the word out there. It helps waking people up. It helps. It seems to anyway. But so on that note, I will be seeing you guys again Sunday. We have a great schedule coming up. I posted and yeah, it's been very cool. Benno, why don't you come on and run the chat? You'd be great at it. Or if anybody, like I said, is interested in doing this, I think it would be huge in helping kind of tie up and free up because I'm like the one-man band here sometimes and I'm clumsy. We all know that. Clumsy might be an understatement, but yeah, looking for some fun things. Also, experiencers. I talked to Poncho about this too. I wanted to get together a panel for, some stuff and get more so the community, such as yourselves at home listening, can get more involved. So if this is something you think you want to do, definitely just drop me a DM somewhere or a post in the community, anything, wave your hand. Seriously, it's put yourself out there. If it's something you think that you want to do, definitely do it. I know Kurt's going to come back for more shows and I've gotten such, Kurt, if you're listening, I know you probably don't feel like it at times, but people love you up here and they've connected with you. So again, if this is something that you're interested in, reach out. You guys, I've done so many stupid things like on camera that you believe me, you won't outdo them. You can't possibly outdo some of the moments that I've had. So that should make you feel really good. I'm all, I've tripped, fallen in, going into, it never fails. So if you're interested in maybe coming on and running the chat in the back, and that way it really, the questions, if you feel like that's important or any other changes that you feel really are important that you'd like to see going forward, I take it very serious and I do protect it with everything that I have. So thank you for taking the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio. I'm Coley, also known as Coley UFO. And I want to tell everybody, I guess we're going to go with SETH BREEDLOVE and be good to one another. And I'm telling myself that too, because believe me, I know I got some issues from time to time, but we're definitely not here to fight one another. But yes. And Spider-Bite, I hope those fires over there, let us know. And it's life, she says. Yeah, I know. There's life growing pains and they're very real. And it's all a part of the process and the experience. But yeah, definitely. And thank you, Benno. Benno, you should think about coming on and running chat. I don't know if that's something you'd want to do, but I think you'd be good at it. You change the room when you come in too. With your humor, you're very funny, and it's a dynamic. Everybody together, it's like a dynamic. So, and that's each and every one of you. Without, I guess that's really all I have. Stay warm. It's freezing cold here in Iowa, and on that note, I'm out. I think I am anyway. I was out.
Unraveling the mystery, secrets in the night. alright.
From this Generation X quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse is where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller ring will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand.